Throughout history, a line in the sand usually meant making a choice between losing something or taking a stand. If you don't think we're fighting for our survival, think about this. On December 7th, 1941, 2,400 American servicemen were killed in an attack on our naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Last year, over 25,000 American civilians were killed in our schools, businesses, and neighborhoods. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, we knew what to do. The threat was clear, and so was the answer. The whole nation mobilized. People made sacrifices. They did what they had to do to defend our freedom. Let me ask you this. If current trends continue, what kind of future do our children and grandchildren have? I'll describe it. Police sirens wail 24 hours a day in crime-ridden suburbs. Needles dripping HIV-positive blood and spent crack vials litter the city's streets, sidewalks, and schoolyards. Armed with assault rifles and Uzis, vicious criminals dominate neighborhoods, places where even the police won't go. To protect their lucrative drug trade, these thugs kill innocent people who have unknowingly entered the wrong place at the wrong time. Gang members call it going to Mayberry when they describe moving into communities where crime was never a problem. Remember, this isn't about some third world country or about poor inner city neighborhoods. This could very well be the future of our own once peaceful communities, turned into crime-ridden ghettos that were taken over by gangs and drug dealers. Is this our future? Crime and violence are destroying the American way of life. If you're like a lot of people, you would do something, if you only knew what to do. There are many so-called answers to the growing crime problem, everything from 3 strikes and you're out to mandatory gun possession laws. There are also measures being taken to react better to crimes once they've been committed. But these solutions are not enough to keep crime from overtaking us. Not long ago, a man told me a story. It started one evening when he turned on the news to see what was going on. The first 3 stories were about crime. Jerry said he remembered asking himself, why doesn't somebody do something about this? Over the next few days, he found himself asking that same question many times. Then he told me, one morning, as I was shaving, it hit me. As I was looking at myself in the mirror, I found myself saying, you're somebody, why don't you do something about it? Right then, Jerry made a commitment. He organized a crime prevention program that has made a real difference. Is there something you can do? The answer is positively yes, and that's what this program is about. You can help curb the rising tide of crime and violence. Next, I'll show you how one person's involvement saved a life and how the inaction of another contributed to a needless tragedy. These reenactments are based on true stories and demonstrate how one person can make a difference.
This is still not easy for me to talk about, but I know it needs to be said. My daughter, Karen, was kidnapped from our home. Karen had 2 friends over for a slumber party. They spent their time joking, playing music, and talking about school like 11-year-old girls will do. Girls are so sweet at that age, so innocent. Anyway, I stopped in to chat with them, and after a few minutes I left. Little did I know it would be the last time I would see my daughter alive. Karen's friend Laura told me that the 3 of them continued to talk and listen to music for a while longer. And then later, Karen left the room to get some snacks. I can't remember what the exact time was when I heard the breaking glass. Then her scream. My neighbor told the police that he thought he had seen someone walking around outside our house the night Karen was taken.
Hey, Johnny, come on. It's your turn to deal.
Yeah, I'm coming. I thought I saw somebody out there. I guess it was nothing.
My neighbor told the police that he thought he had seen someone walking around outside our house the night Karen was taken. I still don't understand why he didn't call me. I could have done something. He told the police that he felt nothing was wrong. Then he said, besides, nothing bad ever happens in our neighborhood. Karen was missing for several days. My husband and I hoped for the best. I was home alone when the police arrived. I could tell by the look on their faces that my sweet Karen was dead.
Patricia, Mark and I are here to give you some information, and we want you to know that your daughter has been found, but unfortunately, yes, I know.
Tragedies like this happen all too often. If only this neighbor would have known what to do. Let's watch a reenactment where somebody did know what to do.
I really didn't think anything like this could happen to me, especially in my neighborhood. Well, let's see. School got out early, and I was walking home like I always do when I saw Mr. Heller. He's a real nice man. Everyone likes him. Hi, Mr. Heller.
Well, hello, Claudia. How have you been?
I'm great. School got out early today.
Well, you have a great day. And say hi to your mom and dad for me.
Anyway, I remember thinking, after I get home, I'll ride my bike over to Katie's house. About a block from Mr. Heller's house, I saw an old truck pull up and stop. I didn't think it was weird or anything. When I started to walk by the truck, a man pushed open the door.
Get in the truck.
He was so scary. He screamed at me, and he told me to get in the truck.
Get over here!
Then, I started walking towards him. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I really don't remember what happened next, except I was so scared. The next thing I knew, I was pounding on Mr. Heller's door. Mr. Heller! A man just tried to kidnap me. He has a gun.
Where is he?
He's driving away.
We'll call the
I
police.
felt way safer when he opened the door. I told him what happened.
What's he look like?
And he called the police. He had a gun. He was a... I didn't think I'd remember what the man looked like, or his truck, but I did.
Emergency?
This is Jerry Heller. I'm block captain for the Pioneer District. My neighbor just came to me with the news that a man attempted to kidnap her at gunpoint.
And what's the address, sir? Okay, what kind of vehicle does he have?
He was driving an old gold and white Chevrolet pickup truck with a white canopy. He had light brown hair, a mustache, and blue eyes. The truck was headed west on Pioneer Street.
I'm glad the police caught him so he doesn't try to hurt other kids. I still get kind of scared when I think about it. I really hope other kids will know what to do if it happens to them.
As it turns out, the man arrested in this case was linked to several other crimes, including at least one murder. By knowing what to do, having a plan, and then acting on it, this little girl not only saved her own life, but probably saved the life of the next victim of this alleged serial killer. In our next segment, we'll talk about making our community a safe place and what we all can do to put the brakes on this runaway crime problem. Before we talk about making our community safer, let's take a short look at crime and why law enforcement needs our help.
According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, over a recent 5-year period, 1 in 4 households was touched by a crime of violence or theft. If this trend continues during the next 5 years, there is a good chance that you or one of your 3 neighbors will become the victim of a crime. That doesn't have to happen. Not long ago, in several cities like Detroit, Seattle, and Boston, where crime was rising, there were sections of those cities where crime was going down. Each of those cities was faced with the same problems of reduced budgets and fewer police. So why was there crime reduction in some areas and not others? The answer may surprise you, and we'll get to it soon. Over the past 100 years, our society has become increasingly mobile. Traditional neighborhoods where everyone knew each other began to fade away. As a result, by the late 1960s, we witnessed a dramatic increase in residential crime. Traditional law enforcement had become, for the most part, reactive. In other words, officers responded to a crime after the fact. Since law enforcement cannot be all places at all times, this reactive approach did little to reduce crime. Increasing crime and violence prompted a number of progressive law enforcement officials to develop an innovative program where the citizens would work with instead of rely on law enforcement. This approach to crime prevention became known as watch programs. Today, it's called community-involved policing. The interesting thing is the original idea of community-involved policing was first described by Sir Robert Peel, an English statesman who back in 1829 set forth the mission for the London Police Department.
To maintain at all times a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and that the public are the police. The police being only the members of the public that are paid to give full-time attention to duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the interest of community welfare and existence.
It has taken almost 150 years for us to finally realize that unless every one of us takes responsibility for the safety and security of our own communities, our future and our children's future may be in jeopardy. From their beginning, watch groups have had a significant impact on crime. Many have since developed into comprehensive, community-wide programs that not only help make neighborhoods safer, but also address other important issues. By following basic guidelines, Community Watch improves our quality of life. Burglary prevention, child safety, and health education are just a few things you can learn to help make your homes, streets, and schools safer. When law enforcement and citizens unite, they become partners with a common goal of making their community safe. When you become the eyes and ears for law enforcement, you take the fastest way to reduce crime. Learning how to identify and report activities that lead to crime will save lives and property. Law enforcement can provide the training and act as a consultant to educate people about crime prevention, not to mention putting criminals in jail. By getting to know your neighbors and looking out for each other, small groups of people can make the neighborhood not only safer, but a friendlier place as well. Other concerns such as disaster preparation, fire prevention, health issues, and first aid also can be dealt with. Once a watch group has been formed, a collective, powerful voice can be raised to address any issue of concern. As neighbors get better acquainted, a feeling of community is created. Gradually, the neighbor gets put back into neighborhood. Your program also increases the feeling of security, which reduces the fear of crime. Examples of successful programs are common. In the early 70s in the city of Detroit, the chief of police had waged an all-out war on crime by establishing special units to react quickly to robberies. This task force didn't reduce crime. Instead, it alienated the community. Shortly after a new chief was appointed, an experimental watch program was started in the Crary St. Mary's district. The results? Over a 2-year period, crime decreased by over 50%. An analysis of burglaries a year later astonished officials. Not one of the burglarized homes was a member of the watch program. Not only had the crime rate decreased, but the fear of crime was also reduced, and the sense of community was improved. People were able to live and work in a better place. Results like these can occur in any community. As we've seen, law enforcement cannot fight crime alone. They need our help. An active community watch program is a simple and effective way to get started.
I knew that I couldn't do anything about crime in other areas, but I live here. I'm concerned about my children and grandchildren. I knew something had to be done. I became interested when I heard how neighbors were able to make their communities safe by just working together. I called the police department to find out how I could set up a watch group in my area. When I talked to Joe, the officer, he told me I needed to commit an hour or two of my time over the next month. I was surprised. I thought it would take a lot more of my time. I knew that I could handle an hour or two to get our watch going. Joe also told me the first thing I had to do was set up and host a meeting with my neighbors. He gave me a block captain's handbook, some citizen guides, and other handout material. The next day, I went out and started meeting my neighbors. I told them that I was having a get-together to talk about how safe the neighborhood was and what we could do to make it safer. It only took a few days to get everyone invited. At first, I was a little nervous about meeting strangers, my neighbors. But after meeting some of them, I found them to be really nice people, and we have become good friends. At our first meeting, we all introduced ourselves. Then we talked about the neighborhood. We discussed how the neighborhood has changed and some of the changes we would like to see. We all agreed that as neighbors, we should be involved. I gave out some of the material the police gave me. One of the forms was called a phone tree. We filled it out so we could call each other if we needed to. Just before the end, we set up our next meeting and decided to talk about some specific problems. We also decided to have 2 training meetings during the next few months. Some of us thought that this meeting would take a long time, and we were surprised to find that we were done in less than an hour. I was also elected the block captain. A block captain is someone who lives in the neighborhood and has a little extra time and is willing to put forth a small amount of effort to keep the group going. Although the block captain is a key member of the organization, his duties are relatively simple and requires little in the way of training. It only takes me about an hour a month to keep track of members, set up the meetings, make sure new neighbors are welcomed into the neighborhood, and coordinate training. At the next meeting, Joe came by, and he discussed with us the police department concerns and the crime problems in the area. We found that he was a really nice guy and was as concerned about our town as we were. We also discussed important topics that may be affecting all the members of the block. We watched a video and talked about how we can make our homes more secure. We also learned how to identify and report suspicious activities. One of the best things about Community Watch is that it helped us all get to know each other. Since we started our watch group, we've had several meetings. At one, a fireman came by and talked about fire prevention. We're planning another meeting to start setting up our disaster preparation plan, just in case we have to evacuate or in case of some catastrophe. I'm glad I took the first step and contacted the police department. I knew I had to make the choice of becoming either part of the problem or part of the solution. I knew it would require some effort to make our children's futures safer. My neighbors and I realized we can play a key role in making our community better. All of us feel we are working as a team with law enforcement. One thing for sure, our community is better for it. After all, we all live here. The way I see it, we have a choice. We can either do nothing and hope crime doesn't affect us, or let the criminals run free in our community. Or we can invest a few hours every year and put the Community Watch program to work, making our community a safer and better place.
Let's see what law enforcement has to say about getting involved. Can you cite some examples of how working with police, citizens have been able to make their neighborhoods a better place?
One neighborhood here had 2 homes in it that were according to the neighbors, were obviously homes where the people were dealing drugs out of there. There's a lot of, more than normal, a lot of vehicle traffic, a lot of walking traffic coming in and out, and so forth. And we were able to work with the community, and we were able to erect some signs that basically said, "Drug dealers, get out." We were able to create a plan, a law enforcement plan, where the neighbors that lived there all took license numbers for us. We ran the license numbers down. We were able to successfully make several arrests, and lo and behold, the 2 homes are now vacant, and the drug dealers are gone. When the community does that, when the community works with law enforcement and private industry, problems get solved very, very quickly. The first thing that our citizens need to do is get themselves informed, and they're going to do that by organizing themselves. They're going to organize their neighborhoods. That's got to be first. Once they organize their neighborhoods, call us, and we'll come out and we'll make sure that our various neighborhoods are informed.
A lot of people think it's up to the police to keep our streets safe. What's your response to this statement?
I'm empowered to do some things that you as a private person cannot. I'm charged with the responsibility of carrying a firearm, making arrests, working a variety of odd and unusual hours, and being vigilant in order to protect you and your property and your family. On the other hand, I don't do this in isolation without your participation in this program. It will only work if you will assist me and support me and provide me the assistance in accomplishing this mission. I can't do it by myself. We are not an occupying force that's charged with maintaining order, irregardless of how you feel about it.
Right.
We do this in partnership. I keep using the term partnership, but that's the best expression that I know that describes our relationship. Partnership. We're truly going to see public safety increase and the quality of life improve. You've got to help me. You've got to become involved. We, the police, can't do it by ourselves.
Just look around. It's easy to see which way crime is going. The only way we're going to be able to reverse this trend is by all of us working together. The truth of the matter is, you are either going to be part of the problem or part of the solution. There is no in between. You can take the first step by calling your local law enforcement agency. Tell them that you want to be involved in making your community a safer and better place to live in. Our children's future depends on it.